are tuned into the Love Movement Podcast on IntellectualRadio.com.
Hey, appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is the Love Movement Podcast. Appreciate my fans, all of our fans that we have, and all our followers and everybody. This is a great day for me because I have the dean. He was my dean back in 1978. 77, 78 when I went over as a Mega Psi Phi, and this is a bit of a great moment for me because this guy, when we were in college, traveled all over the world. All over the world, and I was kind of jealous. And I was like, and then he was my dean, and we had a good time. But I'm gonna let you tell your story. Let's pay some bills, Mr. Duke. And we got Tasteful, and Tasteful is doing a Super Bowl party this week along with Stacy's Cafe. The View, they have a Super Bowl party along with a Valentine's Day special on the 13th of February. And then we had a Village Dispensary, and they do daily specials, and they are at Bar Louie now. We're there doing a podcast for the Village Dispensary. And then we have the Blue Note. They have a Super Bowl party this week too. And then we have Avenue. And also we have Barrett Financial Loans by Lakeisha. Come on, Lakeisha, let's get that money. We need that money for these new home buyers, and it's a lot going on. And thanks to Jared for the youth edition last week. I thought it was pretty awesome.
Jarrell, we gonna get his name right.
Jarrell, what's his name?
Jared.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then we got a couple funerals. Corey Cooper, mother Cindy Cooper, she passed away. Her funeral is next week, and then we got Mona's funeral, which is tomorrow at Rock of Ages. And that was a tragedy too. Also, it was a tragedy today. I mean, the other day to see that
shootout,
and it was crazy. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the shootout? Did you see it?
No, brother, I just had heard about it, and I saw a brief clip on it. And you talked about the 10 shots.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's madness, bro.
It's madness. And then the baby girl was in the baby girl was in the car.
In the back seat.
In the back seat, man.
Yeah. Unharmed, though, bro.
And that's the blessing out of all of that, because it's a lot of madness out there. And what else do we have?
And that is a baby without her mother.
Right.
Yeah.
And possibly father, because there was a guy driving. I wasn't sure if that was the child's father that was driving, but there was a guy driving in the car.
And that's tough because they say, for example, if he did the mother or the father mistaken identity, or somebody you knew was in that car, and those people are not in that car anymore. Now you shoot this car up, and that baby got shell casings in her lap,
right,
in the car seat. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. Black History. What's going on with Black History?
Let's kicking things off. You know how we do it every year. Black History it should be an everyday experience, so we shouldn't just target it for February. It's an all year round thing, but it's formally celebrated beginning in February. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all
now
about.
We black every day, but this month we blackity black. I'm telling you,
we doing that extra black.
We got to show out.
There you go.
In a good way.
And
let me make that clear. Let's show out exactly.
Yeah. And so I didn't even have to pay $300 to see New Edition, because they posted it every song, every move that they had. I said, man, listen, I got my concert. I saved me $300.
Toy was there yesterday.
I know she was there. What was your experience like, Toy?
It was great. Honestly speaking, it brought back a lot of memories to see, and it's interesting. They have been in the business for 45 years.
Yeah.
When they did Dial My Heart and another song, one of their other songs from back in the day in the 80s, I just didn't realize how far back they went. But when I say all of them performed well, New Edition, they gave each person that had a solo career at one point the opportunity to sing their own music. Tony Braxton did well, as well as Boyz II Men. They're timeless. So it was a really good show.
So how did the collaboration go when they all start singing together? How was that?
It was really nice to see that. They started the show that way, and then they branched off, and each group did like one of their songs, and then they started to get into like for New Edition, the individual artists. Johnny Gill did one of his songs. Ralph Tresvant did his songs. Of course, Bobby Brown had to do his thing.
Did he do the?
He did well.
Bojangles.
He did well.
Did he do that?
Bojangles.
He wasn't moving as much as he used to.
He wasn't.
But he's still a good performer.
Yeah,
so it was worth it.
That's our era. We are now the new aunties.
We
I saw a lot
definitely
of them
aunties.
outfits yesterday. They was clowning.
Yeah, we definitely.
Some more was hideous. I will say that they had too much going on. I don't know. When we get older, we become more flamboyant.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of colors, a lot of bling. I said,
it definitely was a lot of bling.
Yeah, some of them outfits they put together was a lot.
I mean, I listened literally to all the songs. People in party buses singing to all the songs on the way to the concert.
It was gaming.
It was. I was like, yeah, that was the tailgate, huh?
Yeah, definitely tailgate.
That's how we get it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we also the Bulls. Bulls and they didn't dumped everybody. And I mean everybody, and then our hometown favorite Javon Carter, they dumped him, and hopefully he get picked up. Let's cross our fingers. Hopefully he'll get picked up by somebody, and we can have some fun. Do you follow the basketball?
Not as much now. Bro.
Not as much as me either. And it is tough. And Sterling, I was talking to him. He said that things are going to change so much. They're going to have the NBA European League.
Oh wow!
So the NBA is taking all of that over there. And I was telling some people too. NBA might be no blacks allowed because they're giving away too much money. I mean, they don't want to see those brothers that rich.
For too long.
Oh, not for too long. So it's gonna be interesting how it go. And they don't want to see the Ja Morants with the pistols and the guns and all of that kind of stuff. They just it's gonna be interesting how it go.
But is that about greed? Because if they are making that kind of money, you know what the teams are making.
Yeah.
So, it's a piece of the pie, basically.
It's a piece of the pie, but they don't want us to have a piece of the pie.
It.
You know what I'm saying? They want to make sure that they continue to cut from that pie and cut from the people that they're around because they don't want the negative behavior to go along with the money.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying? So if I got Ja Morants and I got players that's antagonizing, fighting on the court, stuff like that, they don't want that money to go with that behavior.
Well, isn't that the case for like other sports, more white dominated sports like hockey and?
Well, that's part of their game. But and to say that they allow fights, they get a penalty, but they do fight. Hockey was founded by Black brothers in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're talking about Black history,
Black Ice,
and they was founded by the brothers in Canada, and then they took over the league because they had the paper, they could afford to fund it, and whatever the case might be. But yeah, you make some good points. It's a lot of things going on out there, and so the Bulls trade. But let's clear up some stuff. These Epstein files. I mean, golly. What's going on? What's your thoughts on it, Z?
Oh, I knew he was going to come to me. Don't come to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've been noticing they trying to pull a lot of people in, and Jay-Z is catching it too now. But they're saying it's according to some of the dates, it doesn't seem accurate, but it's a lot of other celebrities out there. I don't know. I honestly, I don't have too much feedback on the Epstein because I haven't been following it properly.
What's the difference between him and Diddy, Toy?
He worse.
It seems honestly. I mean, pedophilia is something that is uncommon in that industry, right? It's like that's been well known. Elvis, a number of people have been a part of that realm. So I just would like to see if there'll be real consequences for folks like allegedly Donald Trump and some of the other folks that they're naming that were involved. Will it be real true consequences?
The real big name folks.
Well, you know,
they're making examples out of all of our people.
Yeah.
But it's time they start making some moves on some of those people.
They put
too.
some pressure on Bill Gates yesterday because he spoke out, didn't they? Yes, they did. They put some pressure on him, and his ex-wife, the billionaire ex-wife, said, let them, my husband and them, deal with that. I don't have anything to do with it. She took her hand, but she's pointed to him. You deal with that.
Yeah.
Because that's your name. That ain't got nothing to do with me.
She ain't no ride or die.
What? She just got 30 billion. What she talking about? Ride or die. She can ride her own horse. She can ride her own horse. But it's very interesting that how that whole thing plays out. It was a guy named Muhammad. He played professional basketball, and he didn't want to stand for the national anthem. And they blackballed him. And it's interesting how that sports thing where we were saying a minute ago, how it reflects. But when it comes to the other side of the story with the Epstein files or whatever, they try to cover everything up. They're going to hide it. How long did it take them to release those files?
That's another question.
Yeah. I mean, they alleged that they couldn't release it while it was under investigation. So actually it was something that has been running in the background for years now, but they supposedly were completing this investigation and they couldn't release the information while it was still under investigation. That's at least what they're saying now. So
okay. Well, let's go to this ICE situation because I'm kind of understanding that they're renegades. They executed the girl. They basically executed the boy. But I asked the question the other day, and I got a lot of little, feedback. Was it smart for that kid to bring a gun to the trigger happy guys of ICE that's shooting people that's unarmed? Then you have one that's armed, not condoning their activities, but to be a carrier, concealed carry, you have to be smart at the things that you do too.
You do.
And then that was one of the things that I had said, and a lot of people were saying, well, he had the right here. Yeah, he has the right. But you got to be smart with that right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have bring it. Them trigger happy dudes, and now they're finna do an investigation. Now it's coming up that is it because they killed two white people? Is it why is it, it's coming up now? So it's a very interesting thing. And
well, one of the things I just want to observe is that you've got the mass witnessing of murder, similar to George Floyd. The entire country, revolted against what they saw. That brother being taken out like that. With that brother being taken out like that, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Then, calling out mama's name right before he took his last breath. And then, the similar thing with the woman and the man, the entire country is witnessing this. And let's remember that it was the same type of situation with Vietnam. It was that constant, imagery of these dead bodies coming back home that created so much opposition to that war. It was the media putting it out there for everybody to see. And folks like, wait a minute, we didn't vote for this. We're talking about making America great again. It seems like we're creating a climate to make America hate again.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And Donald, since you speaking up, we just want you to, really break us down, bring us to where we are. You got $45 million worth of grants that you work with. Your budget went from $6 million to $13 million a year, and you're building homes for the senior citizens and the disabled people. Tell us your story. Tell us your story from how you got to where you are right now.
Well, first of all, brother, thank you so much for having me on your show, and I'm so glad to be here with you and the sisters. And I was just enjoying the conversation. I was just, observing tonight. I'm like, y'all keep going. I was loving it. But I appreciate the invitation, brother. And more importantly, I appreciate a friendship.
Friendship is essential to the soul.
50 years, brother, 50 years, And where did it begin? I got to tell this story, because it was part of what we got to talk about during Black History Month. It began with the Great Migration, with my mom and daddy making a decision to leave the South and come north, specifically to Chicago, and when we got to Chicago, we settled on the west side. And, looking at everything that was going on, we grew up right there near the old Chicago Stadium. My block is gone. It was 1851 West Adams Street. That entire block has been totally wiped out.
Rockwell.
Yeah, all that, right? Henry Horner,
Yeah.
Gone. And there's so many ballers came through that neighborhood. We live right down the street from Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. We live right down the street from Black Panthers headquarters. We live right down the street from what became the Miles Square Health Center, one of the first federally qualified health centers in the country. That was founded by Congressman Danny K. Davis back in the day, and Mama Do and Ola Do. They were the originators of the Miles Square Federation, along with Earlene Lindsay and Dan Cantrell, all these great folks.
Tell them who Do is. Tell them who Do is.
Well,
you mentioned a name.
Well, Do is Mama Enola Do, Enola Dominique Do, from New Iberia, Louisiana, and they call it hot sauce country, and bringing all that Southern tradition up north. And then, of course, we were in search of the promised land. That's why we came north. We heard there were jobs. We heard that there was better housing. We heard that there was better economic opportunity. And before the Harlem Renaissance, we were kicking it right out there in Bronzeville, the great Black metropolis. Right there on 47th Street, Old Tobacco Road. We had all kind of folk out there. We had the Regal, Temptation, Smokey, all of them coming through there. Right there in Chicago. So, we were kicking it back in the day, right? We had a quality of life that we were not able to experience in the South. So that's the background. But I say that had Mom and Daddy not decided to come north and settle here in Chicago, I would not have the opportunity to do what I'm doing here today. And, brother, let me also just say this. I call it the flower pot effect. No person can grow beyond their environment. That happens with a flower. You put a flower in a small pot, it ain't gonna grow no more. Expand that pot, it grows more. So I got a chance to leave the West Side and go to school first on the South Side, Hills Franciscan. Hadn't traveled to the South Side like that before. All right. But became a Spartan, wanted to play football out there. That's another whole story. But then came to Lewis University, where I met you, bro. And that just opened up the door because, I couldn't bust a grape. Man, I was throwing up bricks on the basketball court. But something happened at Lewis University. All of a sudden, my skill set just enhanced. I grew another 4-5 inches, grew about 6'2", menaced on the basketball court, but I was enjoying the brotherhood. Now, something about that brotherhood, Omega Psi Phi, was so powerful that just took me to another level. Because back in them days in 1975, every major leader of civil rights organizations in this country was headed by men of Omega Psi Phi. We had Reverend Jackson of Rainbow Push, we had Benjamin Hooks of the NAACP, and we had Brennan Jordan of the National Urban League. And I just said back in them days, if bros roll like that, I want to be one of them. And that's what was being instilled in us. So just think about growing up on the West Side, seeing all this Black empowerment, seeing all this Black self-determination, seeing these brothers, like Mark Aguirre, Isaiah Thomas, all the rest of them, going to the NBA. I'm looking at all of this possibility. Black folks doing for Black folks. We weren't waiting and dependent on anybody. We had the Black churches, we had the Black settlement houses. And so this is what was instilled in me. So naturally, I came back to the hood after college, realizing that I had to do my part. Came to HSI back in 1984. Here's another part of the story, bro. There was a brother in a position before me for 10 years. His name was Larry Bird.
I worked for Larry Bird.
So Larry,
Drake
right?
House School Home, the Drake House for the boys,
right
over there.
And Chris, you live right across the street.
Right across the street.
On Congress.
Right there on Congress. Right across the street.
Right across the street. And little did we know Fast forward, and we were going to connect in college, you know. But that's how the divine works. I mean, he connects the dots. He puts it all in motion as it needs to be, as it should be. So again, fast forward, and I'm getting back to Chicago, getting to HSI. My predecessor died at 39 years old. But before he died, he did something that was so powerful. It had not been done before him. He wanted to raise over $1 million for the 10-year anniversary. So what did he do? He put a concert together, did a musical tribute to Sissy Houston. Well, who showed up? Well, Whitney had to show up. Had to show some tribute to Mama. But somebody else showed up who were members of the family. Luther Vandross, Dionne Warwick.
Yeah.
All of them showed up, right? And we down at the Ritz-Carlton, kicking it. Michael Scott, y'all remember Michael Scott? He was the chairman of the Special Events Committee. So he helped put it all together. Frankie Clare, Oak Park, resident, helped put it all together. Fast forward, and Larry passes away at 39. Donald Dew takes over in 1990. I'm trying to say to myself, what am I going to do to be able to compete with that kind of show? Well, who did I have, bro? I had Natalie Cole.
Bring Michael Jackson now.
Well, here we go. I had Natalie Cole, Bernie Mac, and the Soul Children of Chicago was the first show out the gate, And then fast forwarding, we had some strong board members like Lynn Norman, who was managing editor of Ebony Magazine, people like Ralph Moore, RGMA. I mean, all these powerhouses, people like Michael Scott, all of these heavyweights, just instilling all this good information. I had great mentors. I mean, just powerful brothers and sisters along the way. And I could talk for hours about just that side of it. But then it came to, well, Don, how are you going to keep this agency going? And so I decided that rather than, and this is something that all Black organizations need to think about, which is why we developed the term historically Black community-based organizations, because it was the Black churches, the Black settlement houses, and then what became known as, and I coined that term, because I said, it's something about our organizations where we were doing some things that nobody else was doing. And that was taking care of home and making sure that people were taken care of when they came up. And by the way, let me also just say this real quickly, because there was a connection. The connection was the Chicago Defender took the word down south. The Pullman Porters helped deliver the papers to the folk down south. The folk down south found out about the possibilities and opportunities in Chicago and places north and west because of that connection. Y'all see it coming together. Right?
Yeah, Robert Townsend was here.
So
our last,
he talking about.
He did he directed the Pullman Porters movie.
Well, there it is. See, it's all connected. That's what I'm saying. We don't necessarily see it right away, but there's a divine connection in it all, in it all. So here we go. Folks started saying to me, well, Don, it seemed like you trying to be all things to all people. I said, no, I'm just trying to be responsive to community need. And there's a lot of need out here. Brother, I submit to you tonight that, we're seeing in our community is a result of 400 years of generational trauma and terror. Now there's research that supports the fact that it's in our DNA. The remembrance of slavery. It's in us still. That 60% of the people walking around are experiencing or have experienced something that they call adverse childhood experience. 60% of the people. Now, if you got unresolved trauma and conflict from your childhood, you take that into relationships, you take that into the workplace, you take that, and then we look up and say, and we wonder why so many of our children are going through the child welfare system, the juvenile justice system. There's more Black children going through those systems than any other child. And I could talk a lot about that, but it's all about being responsible for people with disabilities, mental illness, substance use disorder. The houses that we built, bro, I became a surveyor with the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. I started traveling again, all around the country. I went to Florida, and I saw they had built a beautiful place for people with disabilities. I say, how did y'all do that? I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. Oh, we got that funded through the HUD 811 program. I said, the HUD 811 program? I ain't never heard of that. I got back home. I looked up the HUD 811 program, got $1.5 million. We built 5 facilities for people with disabilities on the West Side. Then I said, society is judged by the treatment of his children and his elders. Let me see if I can do something for the seniors. I put an application for HUD for a senior housing development. They decided to fund it. Next thing you know, we did 2 of them, and all those 5, over $20 million worth of funding from HUD.
Oh yeah, I
just
know.
to do that.
I know.
But it's all because you saw it. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't have thought it was possible. And by the way, math analysis was the only class I dropped at Lewis. But I'm counting the money now. I'm making sure I count the money now, and I watch the money like I need to do.
There you go.
And you talked about the senior citizen home.
Yes.
Also, you got other services that you offer.
Yes.
So you got other, I wouldn't call them rehab facilities, residential homes.
Yep.
For such as Tabitha House.
Yep.
So let's talk about that. I'm
so
tell you
glad.
Back to that divine connection.
All right.
I actually interviewed with Cheryl.
Really?
Cheryl Pickens. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Interview with Dr. Dixon.
Yes.
And then I find out that you're going to be here today. So
I'm
I'm like, that's crazy.
Wow.
And them some fine women up in there. So make sure you don't invite Chris up there, okay? There's too much going on in that building of rehabilitative services, okay? You don't need to be there.
My family still live across the street, so you can
All
right
of
on
you.
the corner.
Yeah.
Well, Tabitha House, you mentioned that's a recovery home for women.
Yes.
And let me just give a shout out to Mayor Thompson, Broadview. She has been for several years now visiting Tabitha House,
Yes.
providing these women with toiletries.
Yeah, we donate.
We donate.
We donate.
It'd be her birthday that we
her
donate.
birthday.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your donations. But to come on her birthday when the ICE agents are in Broadview wreaking havoc, she still takes out time to come to visit the women at Tabitha House and make sure that they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Showing them that love and showing them that support. But it's those type of connections, Chris, that we've had, in our 48 years. We grew out of a church, Clare Christian United Methodist Church. So we're really a faith-based organization. We tell that story in our newsletter, that's how we got started. That was all part of the movement, forward.
Yeah, that's it's awesome because I'm a product of the West Side of Chicago, and to see the growth of it there. I used to play ball at Clark Park, got shot at Clark Park, and then look across the street and see this nice facility that you built. It made my heart feel good. And then I know somebody connected to that. I know somebody that did that. But you had dreams in school around Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, yes.
And he was a brilliant man.
Well, now you mentioned Charles Kennedy. It was because of that, brother, that I got a chance to do that world travel. Went to 7 different countries in West Africa. Went to Egypt because of Charles Kennedy. I directed minority affairs at Lewis, one of our fraternity brothers. He opened up that door and just made me see more than I'd ever seen in my life, And I went to Africa the first time, you ain't gonna believe this, with $650.
For $600? Oh,
$650. Went to 7 countries in West Africa for $650.
I should have went then because it's kind of late now. It's about $16,050. Yeah, I should have went then.
We got a loan from the parish priest over at St. Malachi, and I had to pay that loan back to them. Parish priest wanted to make sure I paid that money back. But that's how we got there.
Yeah, that's man. And what about the political connections that you've made since you've been in that position and the resources and the help that you get?
Our elected officials have been phenomenal. You all probably have heard people talk about social determinants of health. Your condition of housing, the lack of employment, issues related to your health or inequities in healthcare. Those are like related to social determinants of health. Lack of quality education, which is why we, saluted and honored so many educational leaders and pioneers at our last event this past December, because education is like a passport to liberation. You get an opportunity to expand your mind. It was going to Lewis University, open up that door for me to do a lot of what I'm doing right now. But when we think about ultimately, where we're trying to go and the importance of what we see every day, it comes right back down to one thing. And that is, are we focused on the political elements of the equation. Social determinants is one, political determinants is another. Right now in DC, we're seeing political determinants that are going to affect the quality of life and the healthcare of millions of people across this country. The SNAP benefits and what's getting ready to happen in terms of changes with those policies, that's a political decision that's going to impact millions of people across the country. The elimination of a lot of Medicaid benefits and healthcare, that was made possible through President Obama's administration. All that's, being repealed and rejected. So what's going to happen with all them folk? They talk about the social services safety net, but that's going to be a major rip. But people don't fall through the cracks. What happens? They fall into other systems. They go back to jail. We're going to see more incarceration. We're going to see more people homeless. We're going to see more children in child welfare. We're going to see more children in juvenile justice. We're going to see more folks showing up in the emergency room, and more folks will die just because these supportive services are not there. That's a political determinant of health. But I'm just happy to report that our Illinois Legislative Black Caucus have been working hard. After George Floyd's death, they came up with the 4 pillars.
Kimberly Lightford,
Senate Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford, our Speaker, and all
Welch.
Well, all of our elected officials, Rev. Lilly, Rep. Ford, all these folks, Senator Hannah on the South Side, all of the Black legislators came together to get those 4 pillars established that dealt with, criminal justice, education, healthcare, human services, looking at all the different economics, creating business opportunities. That was a political determinant of health. But they created the opportunity for healthcare transformation collaboratives to be created, across the state. And then in terms of HSI, we did a video documentary years ago, 1999, called Heading West. We talked about the migration of Blacks from the South to the west side of Chicago. Because that story had never been told. They talked about Brownsville, but they never talked about Blacks coming to the west side. So we told that story, but we were able to do it because somebody by the name of State Representative Coy Pugh gave us $500,000 to help do that.
That's it.
Well, Senator Lightford came right back, allocated over $1.6 million. That's one of the reasons why we're able to do the second big video documentary,
But listen, man, now just tell me this. You got 2 contracts. You got one with American Airlines, or you got one at the airport and one with Amtrak.
Well, we used to.
Okay. Tell me, how did that go about?
Well, there was a time if you all got on planes or trains, you were given a pillow. If you had looked at the little label on that pillow, it would have said manufactured at Habilitated Systems Inc.
Oh.
Okay. But 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, all of those contracts were terminated. All that entire bit, we were manufacturing thousands of pillows right there on the west side, out of that little shop. People with disabilities were doing the work.
Yeah.
We were doing that right on the west side of Chicago. But that's one of the things that I learned about business. You got to be able to, pivot. So if that business line goes away, can you come up with another one? We formed a janitorial franchise. Well, who owned that franchise back in the day? Somebody by the name of Danny K. Davis and somebody by the name of Hats Adams. They donated that franchise to HSI. HSI started doing janitorial services with people with disabilities all over the west side. We did the final clean project of that big, beautiful building on the expressway, that Rush University, that big butterfly-looking building. We did the final clean on that. We had janitorial contracts with Jesse Brown VA. We did Hines VA. We did, old bank buildings. I mean, so you're thinking out the box. You're trying to figure out, it's something called SWOT. When you think about SWOT, it's a strategy to look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So wherever there's a weakness at, there's a strength. And whenever there's a threat, there's an opportunity. So we use that frame, okay, along with the political determinants, and we look at where the opportunities are. And whatever I see as a weakness in the organization, my intent is to always make it a strength. Financially, programmatically, staff. I mean, we got over 100 competent, committed staff. Man, when I tell you our staff, I've been at HSI for 40-something years. Dr. Dixon, my CEO, been there over 40 years. We just hired a medical director from the west side of Chicago.
Dr. Jackson.
Dr. Jackson.
Yeah.
You
She
know.
fine too, Chris.
Is she married though?
No,
I
she's
don't
not,
know. I don't
Chris.
know.
So you find out everything. If you're gonna tell me something, you find out everything.
He done told you.
You
she
done
not.
told me she fine, but you got to get the rest of that background. Because I ain't gonna be out there and they be shooting at me.
So that ain't gonna happen.
Her and her boyfriend.
But yeah, we got staff that, over 100 staff that have been there 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, who've raised their families at HSI. Send them to college.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with my children. My 2 sons and daughter, I sent them all to college working at HSI.
Yeah. But okay, since we went there, let's stay there. Sam Dew. Now I'm gonna let him explain to y'all who Sam Dew is. That's his son.
Okay.
Did he just win another Grammy?
Yes, sir. He's a singer-songwriter for Kendrick Lamar.
Really?
You all probably know Kendrick walked away with 5 Grammys this last weekend. He's also a singer-songwriter for Taylor Swift. So he's connected with her. Singer-songwriter for Wale, and several others. So he been doing his thing. I used to, Larry Whitman, your line brother. You know what Larry said to me?
What?
He said, "Man, Sam sing like you think you used to sing."
Yeah, y'all used to have some songs y'all was singing. I used to just listen to you and Cleaver. I was like, man, listen to these boys.
We had a good time though, but it's a beautiful thing to see our children. Chris, compliments to you and your sons. I mean, man, it's a beautiful thing, brother. I mean, just watching your path and watching your skill set coming back, working with the police department, coaching, taking care of the kids, and then seeing 2 of your children go to the top, man. Go to the top.
That's
powerful piece, bro.
Yeah, and you know what? I think more than anything else, I can't take responsibility for that because that's what I was supposed to do.
Yes, sir.
I was their father.
Yes.
I ain't gonna. You do what you want to do. I'll support you.
Yes.
But as long as you give me what I asked for, I just want good grades, whatever. Yes. And I never had to correct none of their papers since grammar school. I mean, not one.
But you probably did with your sons what I did with mine, and that is you pledged them from day one.
Yeah. Let's go because this is what I knew, and then that authoritarian position as being a police officer sometimes. That was good and bad.
Oh yeah.
Because I had to sometimes pull myself back.
Yes.
And then they growing up in the town that I'm a police officer at.
Yes.
So they had to take a brunt.
Yes.
Of being the son of a police officer. So they had to go through some things. But it's interesting. But your son, man, that's dope what he's doing. And how many Grammys?
Man, in total, and there's a formula for how they actually award the hardware. You got to have a percentage of work on the actual album, but everything that he's working on and has worked on, he's getting royalties from, and so that was his thing. I mean, he's a great performer. I would love to see him to continue to do his thing on stage. I mean, I saw him open up for a number of different folks over the years. I mean, and he's getting royalties from Spike Lee's movie, Chirac, because Spike used his song, in his movie, and I'm saying to myself, I said, wait a minute now, you are able to continue to get every movie, every song, he's getting the royalties from, so he may walk away with the hardware, 2 Grammys from Kendrick because the songs were so popular, but he did all the background for the Super Bowl last year. That was Sam's vocals. And if you go back and listen to that halftime show, that was Sam doing all the vocals. So it's that kind of exposure.
That's awesome.
And now, people are seeking him out, want him to be involved in a lot of different projects.
And I know, I mean, as a dad, man, you have to feel good because his stage presence is good. He's a good instrument. He can play the instruments. He can sing. He got the total package. He could sing like you used to think. That's what it is.
I'm trying to get him to get me in the studio, man. But at least one time.
Listen,
get you in the studio. Oh Lord.
And Don, I mean, you have a great career. I don't know if you're looking at retiring pretty soon or how long you're gonna be there, but a couple questions. Do your program, is it just for Chicagoland people only?
No. And let me say a little bit about that. first of all, folks say, Don, when are you going to retire? I'm like, retire from what? Because this stopped being a job a long time ago. It's why I exist. It's my mission. And I'm going to keep on doing it for as long as God gives me health and strength. I just want to take care of his people, serve as many as I can for as long as I can, is my goal. In terms of our national effort, I presented the concept of historically Black community-based organizations at 2 national conferences for the Black social workers and National Association of Social Workers. But I'm also sitting on the international board for the Commission on the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. This is Black History Month, so I can say I'm the first elected Black board chair of that international commission.
Right.
So, Chris, we are serving and providing quality standards of care for people with disabilities and special needs all over the country, in Asia, Canada, internationally. So our reach is going far beyond the west side of Chicago.
Yeah, I see you on a conglomerate number of boards and that you're heading. Just to close this one out, leave us with something, leave the audience with something that you want to share to help us go in the right direction. Because I'm looking for a young leader.
Yes.
I'm looking for the youth. It's their turn.
Yes.
And it's their turn. And what would you leave us with to help us go into the future?
I would say 2 things. It's about legacy and sustainability. We got to acknowledge from whence we came, our ancestors. And by the way, that's a real AI. It's ancestral intelligence. It's a real AI. Okay. We got to continue to lift up those who came before us and honor their memory and their contributions and every fight that they fought. Like, for example, everybody don't know that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King actually attempted suicide as a child. And had he been successful with that, we wouldn't have benefited from everything that we got. He also suffered from depression, rightfully so, with all the stress that he was going through. He was going through a lot of depression. So you look at the leadership and you realize that you got to have a succession plan. My predecessor died at 39. So I would leave that the Black organizations, be that our churches, our agencies, our schools, any organization that's had leadership in place for a long time, you got to have a succession plan. So that's legacy and sustainability. You got to have a plan for sustainability. And that's one of the things that I've been focused on a lot, with the funding, with, trying to get new staff, younger staff, to come in and be a part of this mission. Because here's the thing. One person, you only got 2 hands. This is all the work you can do. But how much more work can I get done with 100 plus folk working 24/7? Okay. Now that seed idea has become an institution. And if that institution is having impact in the community, then that institution needs to be sustained so that more people can come through and keep that mission going.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Man, you blessed our show. We really, 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 really appreciate you. This has been an awesome experience. Out of all of the other things that's going on, for you to come in and explain to us how the social service agency is going and what you're doing for the community. A lot of people we can refer over there that's dealing with drug abuse or whatever the case might be. One of my best friends, Barry Morris, when we were growing up, he had some problems, and I took him to habilitative systems. He recently, he's passed since then, but that was one of the first places that I knew that did drug rehab.
Yes.
So it's beautiful, and we want to just say thank you, man.
Thank you
for blessing our show. Make it sci-fi to the day I die, man. So that's how we do it.
Yes,
thank you, Earl, my 2 beautiful co-hosts.
Thank you.
Lady Z, the hottest goddess, and the money-minded Tori Capri. Hey, thank you, everybody. We appreciate the support, and we'll be back next week. Talk to you later.
Just got dressed, need something to get into. Pretty girl on deck.